Greetings everyone, welcome to today's episode. My name is Lisakanya Talibonga and I'm with
Lulena Tlamot.
And today we're going to discuss or talk about the novel Maru by Basihed that was written in 1971. This novel is about a Masawa woman, which is Margaret, who came to teach in the village that was called Dilepe, only to face prejudice due to her heritage. So, in today's episode, we're going to discuss or talk more about the allegory of post-colonial betrayal and power dynamics, mirroring the relationship between colonized and the colonizers.
Yes, as stated by Lisa Grania, that we're going to go more into detail with the allegory of post-colonial betrayal and power dynamics. But first, we're going to try and describe this word so that we can understand more and be able to link the events and the themes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start by describing post-colonial betrayal, which refers to the ways in which the legacies of colonialism and exploitation still remain in our communities and relationships and lifestyles. You know, this can occur in senses of like exploitation and the erasure of a certain group of people in the community, which in regards to this novel, and in this case, it is the erasure of the people of the Masawa group. And then moving on to power dynamics, here we look at in the ways in which power is exercised between the characters in the novel. Yes.
Margaret, for example, Margaret is a Masawa, a group of historically oppressed and dehumanized. Despite her education, the society sees her as inferior. I'm sorry.
Yes, it is an inferior, but I would like to start from the events or instances in page 13 to 14 where Margaret Cudmore's Junior's biological mother gives birth on the street, you know. And in this case, I feel this event or instances portrays a picture of post-colonial betrayal because it gives a picture that the marginalized group, which is the Masawa group, was not given like care or basic care rights in this case, because they did not like care for the health of the child, the mother's well-being, you know. And also this proves a picture of how the colonialist did not try to give the Masawa group human dignity, you know, to the marginalized communities as a whole. You know, this paints a picture of post-colonial betrayal because the legacies of colonialism still exist, where the Masawa group is still not taken into consideration in this case. Yes.
Also, Margaret represents the colonized subject. Even though she was given education by a white benefactor, by the white benefactor, but she was still not fully accepted as a post-colonial society.
Yes, and I would like to also point out, and in the events or case or like instances where from page 40 to 45, where Margaret, we learned that Margaret has learned her first job, you know, yes, which is a teaching application job or post. And then she comes across a lot of conspiracies against her, especially by the principal Pete and I would say that the administrator said, you know, in the school, to the point where the principal goes as far as coaching a boy from her class, you know, to ask her a certain question, which will later erupt the class, where the boy raises his hand and says, since when is a Bushi a teacher? You know, this gives a sense of post-colonial betrayal in this case and against Margaret, because the legacies of colonialism still exist and they are like put out onto children. They are also making children to adopt this certain notion that the Masawa group is less inferior than them. You know, this later results to the class erupting and also the children charting that she is a bushman and this is a bushman. It also gives a sense where she is not accepted, you know, or the Masawa group is not accepted, or the Masawa group is seen as incompetent, and like they're seen as they cannot like get things done. You know, they are seen as as because they are labeled as people like bushmen. Bushmen as in like they are told how to think, they cannot think for themselves, they are told what to do, you know. And also mirroring to the relationship between the colonized and the colonizer, this is where the master tells the slaves what to do, what to say, and at what time. Yes.
And Molega was attracted to Margaret, but he cannot overcome his ingrained biases against her, against her ethnicity. His failure to choose Margaret reflects how post-colonial societies often fail to break from racism legacies.
Yes, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So you meaning that Molega should have like fought more for Margaret?
Yes.
Instead of like listening or giving up because Maru
listen to what
others say.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe Molega did not fight for Margaret because she's a Masawa, or is it because what people were gonna say?
I think because she was a Masawa, and he was afraid of what people like will say. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I don't think that's the case, because there's a part where Molega has dinner with the Masawa people, you know, where they share the dinner. Even people were like, how can Molega like do such a thing, as in like I think it's based on that the fact that he was like returning to go up against Maru, because you know they grew up together. He's like his brother, his best friend, you know, and be like, you know, there's the thing that we're gonna fight. Oh, a woman is the one who's gonna tear us apart. Yes, but also adding up to the fact that, or the fact of the point that you spoke about, where Molega and stuff about he can't. I think that also the point where post-colonial betrayal and pardon makes it evident is whereby Margaret is told to bring back the bed that she was lent by Molega, which this instruction comes from Maru, you know, stating that how can a Masawa be treated as an equal as a Botswana in my village, meaning that where will I get all of these beds that will accommodate all of the Masawa slaves in my village? Yes.
The relationship between Maru, Molega, and illustrates the colonized and the colonized. For example, the power that Maru had over Masawa explains or reveals like in terms of colonized and the colonized.
Yes, I feel that you know, also this is evident where power dynamics plays an allegor of power dynamics plays is evident in this place. That is where in the night of Molega and Tikelezi's marriage ceremony, Maru
went to
the Library Hill and went to Margaret. He finds Margaret unconsciously sleeping there, you know, and packs everything that is at Margaret's house, and they are going, telling Margaret that we are going. This gives a sense of power dynamics, because Margaret cannot go up against Maru. Maru's words is final in this case, because it's telling Margaret what to do.